What's up, everyone, and welcome back to The Perspective. I'm your host, Ethan Micheal, and alongside me is my co-host for the evening, Brian. How's it going, Brian?
Oh, doing all right. I'm excited to get some calls tonight, see about those supernatural claims. If you haven't noticed, Ethan expanded this topic a little bit. What'd you add to the list there, Ethan?
Conspiracy theories, anti-vax, Pizzagate, whatever you want to talk about. We're here to listen. I think that's actually the first time I called you Brian as opposed to BrainBug.
Oh, yeah. I no answer to either. It's no problem. But yeah, Brian is fine for anybody calling in as well. That works for me.
Well, before we get into our callers, how's your week been so far?
So far, it's not been too bad. It's just getting started. I mean, things could always get worse. They could always get better too, though. So this week, I have had an escape.
What do you mean by that?
One of my spiders got out. We got it, but it was one of my teddy bear spiders. It's yeah, I'm pretty cautious with the bitey ones.
I would be too. We are going to be talking about psychic phenomenon later, but before we get to that caller, I would like to get to our first one. Are you ready, Brian?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Sweet. Chris, you are on with Ethan and Brian. How are you doing?
Yes, Chris with a Y, as in, I think you know this person, history of theologian, Saint Chrysostom, John Chrysostom.
Is that where you got the name Chris?
Yes, that was my grandfather's name too.
Oh, cool. And where are you from?
Yeah, this is Greater Pittsburgh.
Oh, cool.
Hey. I shared with you as a laugh. First of all, importantly, I would say a good autumn, and in general too. Thanksgiving Day is secular. So yeah, a good Thanksgiving Day when it comes. What I said about Western Pennsylvania, Greater Pittsburgh, you gave it a heart like that. One of those Western Pennsylvania social conservative Democrats.
Okay. Not
the Bible Belt, and an Orthodox and Byzantine Catholic Central. Yeah, I'm far from a Christian fundamentalist.
Well, good. Yeah. That's good to know.
At the top of the chat, there's a link to the Facebook document. They call it a DOC.
Okay.
Facebook doc. And I'll probably read too dryly from it, but I'll read from it.
Did you have you had a supernatural experience yourself you wanted to talk about, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to read section 1 of that. That'll be the supernatural experience firsthand.
So this is your account that you're reading?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I'm not quite up to speed. Sorry, Chris. You want to lay some groundwork before you read to tell us what you're kind of reading about? Because myself and the audience,
it's that demons exist, perhaps.
Okay.
Go. I gave you the preamble that I'm clear-eyed, but demons exist, perhaps.
Okay, so this is an experience with demons, quite possibly.
And it ends up with 6 surgical stitches to the top of my head, scalp.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us what happened?
When that occurred, this deep dread in my core was removed when the injury occurred. So, good thing.
Well, good. That's always a plus.
That ghost, again, I'm going to read it too dryly, so bear with me.
Okay.
And let's see, the document looks like I scrolled, and it's just 1 1/4 pages on the screen. Okay. That ghost hunting is entertainment. It is dangerous. The following data is faith affirming. I'll talk a little louder too. The radio program is a paranormal topic program. While I am more clear-eyed and remain with the interest in the supernatural as opposed to paranormal or faith. I hear the first 15 minutes news summary usually because mainline Christian host George Norrie, we're fellow Arab Christians actually, addresses social conservative issues, the Second Amendment, concealed carry, support of military service veterans, his fought the battle of the Bulge Father, and a Colonel Norrie, U.S. Army intelligence uncle. He was a Near East expert in World War II. Along with topics anthropogenic, man-made, global warming, but balanced is be progressive, but hold on to our economic advantage. He just likes talking about those things. I hear that before he gets into the paranormal topics. It's a call-in program, and he has guests. I have firsthand experience of a bad angel, dark entity, demon, fiend, unclean spirit, which resulted in 6 surgical staples to my scalp. It was when I was listening to a late night radio call-in show. If you haven't guessed already, it's Coast to Coast AM.
Okay.
3 years ago, hearing a Christian, in quotation marks, author give a litany of all known proper nouns of demons in history and proper names that the devil had gone by through time. Someone, after I thought aloud, he should not be reading this listing over the airwaves. With this thought, this is parenthetical, with this thought in a more receptive state of consciousness for the supernatural, in bed, I switched to listening to BBC World Service. It was called The Devil's Hour by some, 3 a.m.
Are we able to get into like the meat of it? Like what specifically happened?
Okay, here it is. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you interjected. It's 3 a.m. is 12 hours opposite from when Christ died at 3 p.m. Okay. I felt within my.
Where's that come from? Is there a source for that Christ died at that specific time, or I'd never heard that claim before.
Yeah, because a little later in the day, because 2 sources and outside the Bible too. Yeah, outside the Bible too, that there was a lunar eclipse. Yeah. So NASA talks about lunar eclipse. April 3rd, 33 AD. Okay, I felt within my core a great sense of dread, the level of which I never had before, as if the world was coming to an end, out of context. I tossed and turned for comfort. I was not levitated. I was moved in space-time, apparently, to 1 meter over the wooden foot of the bed, with my head pointing downward, speculating, and dropped. The sense of dread then gone. I do not sleepwalk. I wasn't asleep at the time too, because I was just listening to the radio, and then minutes later, if I fell, I would not have possibly smacked open the top of my scalp on the bedboard corner.
Sorry, I want to interject again because I'm a little bit confused here. Could you maybe go to?
No, I'll go back to the instance. All right, the action that occurred.
Yes, please.
But go ahead. Okay, because it happened in a nanosecond. I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel any kind of air, being pushed, like the air in the room, like I'm floating and the air is being pushed. No, that didn't happen at all. It was more like I was moved in space-time to hit my head. The only way I could have been there would have been upside down, my head pointed to the corner of the wooden piece of bed at the head.
Okay. So you hit your head?
Yeah, I call it the wooden foot of the bed, the wooden foot
Okay.
frame of the bed.
The footboard,
Yeah.
sure.
And then it's narrow there. It's narrow there. Even if I was sleepwalking, all right, I wouldn't be able to hit the top of my head. It's narrow there.
So
the only way it can happen is
what specifically
my head's
happened?
pointing
Did you,
down. Yes.
Chris, did you like get out of bed and trip, or like what was the actual event?
It happened in a nanosecond. I sort of like I said, I wasn't levitated like say the movies.
Right, but what specifically happened?
Okay, all I can say in a period is put a period on it is my head was split open.
So you
and at the foot of the bed.
You weren't laying in the bed, just like laying with your head at the top of the bed, and then in a nanosecond you were laying at the foot of the bed with your head split open. Is that
even in covers?
Is that what you understood, Ethan?
Yeah, is that accurate that you were on one side of the bed and then all of a sudden you flipped to the other side of the bed and your head was busted open?
Actually, I found myself on the carpet at the foot of the bed.
On the floor. Okay.
So you were sleeping one moment, and the next thing you know,
but not asleep. I have to repeat that a second, third time. Not asleep.
Okay, so you were not asleep.
You were listening to Coast to Coast AM. Is that what I'm understanding? That you were listening to George Norrie?
Yeah, and then this author and I'm smiling. I said to myself, he shouldn't read a litany of proper noun names of all the demons. He had this big list, and then the name proper nouns of the devil throughout time. He's reading them. As you know, he should not be doing it. I can't repeat some of those. I can't recall what they are.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, are you open to the possibility that there could be a natural explanation for what had happened?
That's why the very, very last paragraph, quickly, I don't sleepwalk. If I fell, I couldn't have possibly smacked open my head because
Chris,
it happened on.
No, I'm curious though. Are you open to the possibility that there is a natural explanation?
I am not on antidepressants. Well, the only to be
so here's
fallen.
Okay, here's one.
I have zilch experience of sleepwalking.
And that's fine. I believe you about that. Absolutely. Are you familiar with a concept that's like sociological mental priming? Are you familiar? It's basically getting your brain set to like when you watch a scary movie and then you have to get up and go walk into a dark room. You've primed and you're apprehensive about it because you've been watching scary movies and it's kind of primed your brain to have this fear of something that unnatural is going to happen. So you're listening to Coast. I like Coast to Coast AM. When I worked overnights, I used to listen to it all night long. It's basically kind of like what we're doing here, Ethan. It's calling in people making supernatural claims and stuff. So it's an interesting take on it to say that you could potentially mentally prime yourself to have this experience when you. Oh,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
have to say that I'm not a fan of the paranormal. More faith, a strong Christian, supernatural. So that's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
Let me, Chris, let me ask you this. So I, for instance, have a history of epilepsy, and I would get these things called absent seizures, where at times I would, not only be not aware of what was going on, but all of a sudden I'd come alert in another room, and I will not remember walking to that room. That happened to me quite frequently. Are you open to that as a possible answer to what could have happened to you? and I'm not a medical professional. I'm
but
just
but
how you
but
described it sounds
but
like something I've been
sister
through.
argument. I mean, a counter argument would be, how in the world did I hit the top of my head? And trust me, if I take a photograph right now, the bed was never moved. I can show you it's a narrow path between the
So top of your head, the crown, like
and the closet. It's a narrow path. And I found myself on the floor right there at the foot of the bed.
Okay. You know,
I couldn't possibly. I can even show you. I can show you the med first. I didn't go to the emergency room. I went to a urgent care. I could probably dig up the record. You know, staples to the very top of my scalp.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt at all that you had damage on your head. I'm just wondering about the cause. So what do you here? Let's approach this from the other direction. What do you think caused it? I mean, do you think that naming those demons that it called them to go out through the radio or what you're listening on?
Yeah. Even my brother says, you know, how can your radio speaker bring, you know, this Christian author, this book author, reading a litany, you know, and it's coming over the airwaves. It may be because I am a strong Christian now, and I said out loud, he should not be reading this listing over the airwaves, thinking aloud. Did that open me to be more in a receptive state for the supernatural? And what's the old English term, perhaps, conjuring a demon,
Conjuring?
a demon, or a demon that's in it's in a dimension, you know, right next to us. I don't know.
You know what this reminds me of, Ethan?
What?
This reminds me of your witch experience. I don't know if any of you were watching when we had this happen. I'll make it real brief. So
I still got the good juju.
So Ethan asked a witch to put a curse on him, and then after that, you know, life happened, and it made it seem as if he was actually cursed.
Right.
I mean, so that's just the short version. If Ethan wants to explain it a little bit broader, he certainly can. I find the story kind of funny, but
yeah, I mean, I don't want to retell it so frequently, but in short, I made a post challenging witches to curse me or to hex me. They did, and later that day, my life went to crap for like 2 weeks, and in my head, all these things happening, I was like, well, I did ask for this. When, you know, in reality, if I look back at it, these are all things that would have actually happened regardless of the hex or
all
not.
Right, we can put a period on this because I said if we have time, I have a secondary supernatural experience.
A second experience. Ooh, yeah. Is this one more compelling than the last one?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is more compelling.
Oh, good. Could you perhaps?
Yeah, maybe another day. Yeah, another night.
Actually, yeah. That I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind calling back next week for the second one. Yeah. Just because we have another caller I want to get to.
I had remembered you saying that.
But just to wrap it back around, you know, I don't want to misrepresent you by any means, but it sounds like you might be open to all possibilities, even natural explanations. Is that accurate? Yeah,
but there's like a tertiary thing here, all wrapped together. I can't put my mind away. I can't put it away in my mind what I felt that night before it occurred, before the wound occurred. This deep, deep feeling of dread in the core of my body that I never felt before. Never felt that before. Then by the way, I think I said it quickly. Then it fled when I hit the top of my head. That feeling.
So you felt better?
Yep.
Okay.
All better.
I mean,
if it was something chemical, while I was feeling this dread, how can it last for 3 minutes? Gone. Deep.
Well, like Ethan had seizures, and they can last.
I felt like fresh air.
Yeah, there were seizures I've had, like absent ones, can last extended periods of time. There are countless examples of me literally missing time or going from point A to point B and then looking around like, how did I get here? Or waking up the next day with...
malady.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. A sincere awe to that malady. Yeah, I feel for you.
Yeah. So, if I could, though, I would definitely like to invite you to call back next week so we can talk about your second supernatural claim.
Yeah, it is. I'm proud that I can call this a warhorse Christian apologetics Google Doc. It's in the null hypothesis form. It starts with H0, lack belief in a God. Then with research is on to possibly falsifying that null, that lack of belief in God, a God.
We are certainly looking forward to hearing from you again. I hope the other story, if it doesn't involve a head injury, it'll be a lot more compelling, because a head injury is kind of segues into, well, a lot of things can be going on while you're in that state with it.
No, it's all science. It's all science. But,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's archaeology of Cyprus.
Yeah, if you could, Chris,
quickly,
this would be great. If you could send me a...
It's just Lazarus of Bethany and the first bishop of this town in Cyprus.
All right, Chris, sorry. I do got to wrap this call up real quick. So, Chris, if you could call back next week, that would be great, and we can continue this.
All right.
Thank you so much for calling. And
I don't know if you're in the college football, but I think I'll enjoy. I said a good autumn. Yeah, I think I'll try to enjoy that.
Awesome. Good. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
All right. Bye.
Before we get to our next caller, if anyone else has a supernatural claim, conspiracy theory, belief in aliens, call the number at the bottom of the screen, which is 951-ENGAGE-0 or 951-364-2430. When he was talking about this dread or that horrible feeling he feels, from my own experience, I had that like horrendous crippling anxiety that happened to me after I asked for the witches to curse me. But that was really, I'd say, one of the worst feelings I've ever felt, Brian. Like that, it was the most crippling anxiety. It was just horrendous. Yeah. Like it felt like I recall walking around like with my head down, like just like it was like this gigantic weight on me. It was a horrible feeling. So
yeah, I don't mean to bring it up every time I'm on the show, but it is a very relative to a lot of the people we talk to, that you had this. It's just like I bring up my sleep paralysis because, a lot of these experiences people have, especially with ghosts and extraterrestrials, all kind of link into that. But who do we got on the line?
Let me pull him in. It will take just one quick second. We're going to be bringing on Axel. Sorry for that sound.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey Axel, you're on with Brian and Ethan. How's it going, dude?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Nice to talk to you again. I forgot to ask you last week. You're from, is it Chicagoland, right?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Hello?
So you wanted to talk about psychic phenomena, right?
Yeah. Yep. Last week I sent you a list of studies and stuff we were talking about. So maybe we could go over some of them, like that stock market prediction.
I have that pulled up right now. Let's do it.
Cool. What do you think about it?
Well, I some of the stuff is clearly going to be over my head. I'm not going to pretend to be a statistician or anything. I haven't had a statistics class since like senior year. So,
same.
For those watching, I just put the link to Axel's article in the comment section if you want to take a look at what he's referring to. what specifically in this? It was the stock market prediction that did you find that was the most compelling?
The fact that they were able to gain $16,000 predicting the stock market, whether it close up or down, 7 out of 7 times, really just made me think that I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to learn how to do that too. If I could predict the stock market, that would be great.
Right.
So,
what they did is, well, yeah, it is a bit complicated, and you can look at it yourself. But so they had these inexperienced. It was like a college class, and they had these students basically remote view an image, and one of the images represented the stock market closing up, and one of them represented it closing down, and nobody knew which one was which, and nobody knew, of course, what the stock market was going to do. So they were seeing an image in the future, and so they successfully draw, like in the example in the article at the end, they have a picture of a mouse and a picture of a guy riding a bike. So they tried to make the images very different so that wouldn't get confused. And this guy writes down in his notes, fuzzy, furry, underground. He draws a little rabbit looking thing. He also wrote small mammal. So basically that ended up representing the correct, it corresponded to the actual outcome of the market. So, and they were right 100% of the time. They had 7 trials and
real quick, Axel, since you're more familiar with the document than myself or Ethan, can you clarify? As I didn't get that far into it, is this they made their prediction a 50-50 shot, either up or down?
It was a choice of up or down.
Okay,
so is that right?
They didn't nail a number or a number range. It just up or down. Is that?
No. Yeah, it was binomial, meaning there's 2 answers.
Mm-hmm.
Would you? So if they only
have 2 possibilities,
if they only have a chance of 2 possibilities,
well, the binomial probability test is p less than 0.01, and I have no idea what that actually means, but I know it's pretty good as far as being not very probable.
Yeah, I see that.
Because it's not just they didn't do this just once. So they took 10 viewers, 7 trials, and the majority of so if the majority chose down, then they went with down, and there would be like a few wrong ones in there amongst the 10 people, but
okay. So they went with whoever the majority. So out of the 10 people, if 6 said it was going to go up, they would go with the 6, right?
Right. In one case, it was pretty close. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down and 4 up, and then one person wasn't there, but they went with down for the majority. And but they did this 7 days, so in each day it was correct ultimately. And they made 16 grand. So
and they showed them images that corresponded to up and down.
They only showed it after the market, the next day. So they showed them the image the next day. They didn't know what the images were at all before that.
So I guess to me, this seems kind of like an odd way to do the test. Why not try and have them focus on more something? I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Why not have them try and make like a more accurate prediction as opposed to just saying up or down, since that's pretty much the only 2 choices?
Well, I don't know.
Do you know if after this study, were these people followed and were they able to replicate this any further?
That I do not know. They talk about other studies being replicated, like they were motivated by an earlier experiments where they Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff predicted silver value doing a similar thing. And yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see here.
Question from audience member. Is there a correlation coefficient R value in there?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay.
I do not know.
I would like to point out something else, that the audience just made, is that this is not a peer-reviewed journal. Do you know of any peer-reviewed studies regarding psychic phenomena?
Let's see here. Let me look at my list. Wait, how do they know that it's not peer-reviewed?
Here, I can
check the journal. I'll check the journal for you. What are we in?
Journal of Scientific Exploration. This was at the University of Colorado, Boulder. But what's more important to me is that, one, you guys didn't really even read the study. And, the first reaction is to try to see if, okay, that's...
Well, we've actually only just been asking questions about the study since you're citing that it's something you've read. I will tell you right now that as far as crunching these numbers, I'm not experienced with doing that, but our friend that was in the live chat is, and in turn, you didn't even understand the terminology she was using. So are you really qualified to assess this data?
I'm not the scientist here, but it's a great example of how people will dismiss stuff, scoff at stuff without even ever looking at it. I mean, you could at least read the abstract there at the top.
Okay, so for the record, I've read the abstract and the majority of the article. However, I am not good at math, and I'm not going to pretend to be good at math. So, as you stated yourself, these values, neither you or I understand them that well. Is that accurate?
Okay, well, our friend in the chat, does he know what a good binomial probability test score is? Is P less than 0.01 a good binomial probability test?
I think it's 0.05 above there. A p-value less than 0.05 typically, is statistically significant. So that's what they've put out there. And I'm not trying to come down on you. We're saying that we don't know this data either, and we're hoping you did, because we did look at this. We did go through and look at the article that you cited us, but we didn't feel that we were qualified to assess the information included in there, which is is perfectly acceptable.
Oh, hey, check this out. Look what I pulled up. Journal of Scientific Exploration, the quarterly peer-reviewed journal.
Journal of
published since 1987.
All right. Well,
so guy in the chat, wrong, buddy.
He could be. I'm trying to look this up as fast as I can. So understand though, like we're just asking questions. I'm not dismissing it. Anytime I talk to anybody with any type of claim, whether it be natural or supernatural, if you tell me you have $1 million in your pocket, I'm going to ask questions. $1 million is a really big claim, and I doubt it would fit in your pocket. So it's not that I'm trying to be dismissive. It's just that this is a fairly large claim. So to me, I need to ask more questions to see how probable it is and to understand it, because a lot of what I've seen in this wasn't necessarily convincing. But again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not great at interpreting this information. So all I'm trying to do is ask the right questions to understand this better.
Okay.
Okay. And, my position is that this is actually I mean, people make their living doing these predictions, and some people have more success and some people have less success. And I understand that these people were not trained in this remote viewing when they made their predictions, which is, I mean, I understand that, and I see that in your abstract. However, this is something that people do for a living. If there was nothing to it, to making these types of predictions, people wouldn't be able to support themselves doing it. That was just kind of where I was coming from on that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that everybody has this talent, and actually, I found in my case, I'm an overthinker and I overthink everything.
Same.
And I think I would be pretty bad at this because I would just be overthinking it. But it's actually better if you don't. I've heard, it's better if you don't think at all about it and it's just kind of automatic. So yeah, people, I would be skeptical of professional. I'd actually be more skeptical of people who make money, remote viewing stuff.
So if people,
a lot of people do it as like a service, and for studies and stuff.
So if they make money, you're less likely to believe them. But if they don't make money, you do believe them?
Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with making money, but
Okay.
When it becomes a commodity and it becomes something you make money off of, yeah, I'm going to be more skeptical because then you've got your motive is to make money. So
how do we know that these people, like, I guess why jump to psychic phenomenon as opposed to considering the fact that they could just be really good at either guessing or predicting the direction of the stock market? Because to me, like, how I would look at it, if I was one of these people and I was able to predict this, I would have asked all those other 9 other people, like, hey, let's stick together and let's go start making some predictions on the stock market and begin making money.
Well, they're not predicting. They're not saying, I think it's going to close up or I think it's going to close down. What they're doing is drawing an image, and they don't know which image represents which. So they're just drawing what comes to their head, and it turns out to look like the image. Nobody, it's double blind. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows which image is going to be up or down, but they know that the drawing looks like the image.
Let me ask you this, were there other control groups that they used who didn't have this ability and then just guessed and compared the results between the people guessing and the people making these legitimate predictions?
Well, everybody's guessing really, and some people, there's some nonsense in there. Some people, don't have one that looks like either, and I think it's indicated. They indicated that in the chart. But as far as like a different control group, I didn't see anything about that, but I would refer you to the study.
Yeah, sorry. I should clarify. I didn't see them reference a control group in the study. So I guess that's why I was asking if there was anything else outside of this where they were able to, because to me, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here, when you're doing any type of scientific study, you need control groups. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
when you're doing doing testing of any kind, you're gonna want to not base that on such a small sample size. Do you know how many people were tested on this one?
Yeah, and that is one downfall of this, is that there wasn't enough sample size, and there's a lot of logistical things that went into that, and not having enough time or students and stuff like that. So yeah, it was only 10 people each trial. So they could have, and they say in the study, they think they assume that it would have gotten better results. The results would have just got better with more people. But yeah, there's that is one downfall of it.
Right. That's, for something like this, that's kind of hard to pull people away from their lives for that long to do that, because they got separated from society for that to be able for this to be able to have any kind of control at all, they got to not be able to go out into the world while they're doing these studies for days on end. It's hard to get a lot of people together to do something like that, especially something so sociologically directed. So, how many people is there a number on here? Can you just give me a page number where I can see that information?
I think
it was 10 people, 7 men and 3 women.
Okay. So that's a relatively small sample size, but so people working in stocks, making stock predictions and stuff. What's the so when you compare this data to that, what are we seeing? Are we seeing that this is average, better than average, compared to the people actually working in this field? Do we have any data on that? Axel?
I don't. That's a good question. All I know that this was 7 out of 7 correct. So I would assume that's better than your average guy who predicts.
Yeah. I got you. But when you're working in the stock market, of course, you're going more off of numbers. It's more of pinning down a number range that you want to invest in, more so than just up or down. It's up or down can be a little or a lot. Obviously, if you put your money down in the right place and things turn your way. I'm definitely not any more versed on the stock exchange than I am on statistics. So
I wish I was.
Yeah, I know. I wish if I was better at that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
That's true. So here's where I'm struggling with this article. It's not only because it's a bit difficult for us to at least for you and I, Axel, to even kind of understand what's going on here. Is that accurate?
I'm sorry, I broke up. You broke up a little.
Oh, yeah, sure. Is it accurate to say that both you and myself don't really fully understand this study?
Actually, I think this one's pretty easy to understand.
But when we jumped back,
as far as I don't know the probability, binomial probability, like what's a good number or whatever. But overall, I think I get the gist of this one. This was one of the easier to understand ones that I pulled from the list.
Yeah, when it comes to p-values and stuff, I tend to defer to people who are
math experts,
quicker than I am. Yeah, like I don't. And I'm just being honest with you. It doesn't sound like maybe I know Ethan's not, and it doesn't sound like maybe you are either, nope. Axel.
I was looking at some of this, and I'm like, I'm reading it, and I'm like, I don't know what some of this means. I don't actually understand it.
Yeah, circling back to don't be offended by us not being able to make it through this paper. It's pretty heavy on the math there. So I apologize for not being more versed in that. And but I was hoping that you would understand it.
And come back to is people scoff at stuff, but then you have these studies. Like, what more do you need?
We need to have them explain to us. That's what I was hoping that you'd come on and do. I mean, we looked at it, but we're hoping you're going to explain to us what you're seeing here that we're not seeing, and then we could go over verifying that.
Well, I explained it when we started. Basically, these remote viewers every day were successfully predicted without, it's double blind. They weren't picking up or down. They weren't picking an image, but they successfully were able to tell if the stock market would close higher or lower each day. And this group made $16,000 doing this. So that's the gist of it.
See, to me, I would immediately assume the natural, because typically we have natural explanations for most things, but I don't want to essentially close off the natural explanations and jump to just, well, it must be psychic. Like, I personally want to keep looking into this. And you had asked what would convince me, or, I'm not scoffing at this. It just, I need more than this to be convinced. For example, like one study, it wouldn't be good enough. So what should happen here is these 10 people should be tested over and over and over again. They should establish control groups. This shouldn't just be a one-off, and then you're convinced off that. So I personally would.
I sent a public list of a bunch of studies, and actually I can send you that link if you want to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, send me which link? The one we're looking at now, I put in the chat.
No, the one that's a whole list. I sent it to you a little earlier in Messenger.
If you can throw that in
informational psi collapsing the problem of space of psi phenomenon, compendium of evidence for psi. I mean, there's a bunch in there, so it'll take a while to get through, and that's part of the problem. So people just don't take the time to go through it.
Let me ask you this: why do you think these psychics aren't, I guess, millionaires at this point? Like, why aren't they making regular predictions and making a lot of money off of it?
I mean, who's to say that there isn't somebody out there playing the stock market, some rich guy that we've never heard of? I don't know.
But wouldn't a better explanation be that they're just really good with money and understanding the ebbs and flows, as opposed to assuming that they have a psychic ability?
Yeah, I'm not assuming that they do, but if you're asking why isn't there one, well, I don't know that there is not one.
Okay, to the paper, I just want to make a little bit of a closing assessment. I've looked at the abstract and in the conclusion, checked the citations on it and stuff, but I don't know that it's the paper itself is drawing a conclusion that there's some unknown phenomenon present, as much as it is talking about a statistical phenomenon. Just my interpretation of this conclusion that they're coming to down here.
Well, the first sentence in the conclusion is associative remote viewing appears to be a reasonably accurate way to predict the future of binary outcomes. Right.
Yeah, and what I'm assessing there is that that there's some kind of statistical that they're concluding that there's some kind of statistical situation going on here, because they're specific about it being binary. They never expanded beyond that. So,
well, even if that is true, even if a fraction of this is true, that throws the whole standard worldview into question. So, even if there's 5% true, or you know what I'm saying? Like that means a lot.
But with such a small group, an anomaly, there's no. I definitely say that this paper indicates that there needs to be more tests towards this for sure. But I don't think that with such a small sample size that we can't, because the chances of somebody winning the lottery are outrageous. But somebody always wins the lottery. Right. Somebody wins. Somebody hits that number. Somebody can hit that number multiple times. There's people that have won the lottery multiple times, and the chances of that happening are outrageous. But once it happens, the chance of it happening is 1. So with such a small group, we shouldn't be drawing any conclusions at this point.
Okay. Well, there's another study that is cited in this one by, I cannot say this guy's last name, is Greg Holozowski, and he did a 13-year.
Are we talking about the references cited on the last page, or are we?
Yeah, but it's also, let me see, it's on page 9. About half, let's see, third paragraph. Other ARV experiments continue to be carried out informally or as private research initiatives. This guy, Greg, did 5,677 ARV trials to predict the market, and he ended up profiting, it says if you, let's see, using confidence scores, as a further error correction mechanism, he achieved an overall success rate of greater than 70%, yielding a profit of $146,587. And I also linked that paper in the list. It's a 13-year study.
All right, I will. I'll have to look into that 13-year study definitely after the show. I think what we should do is we should definitely normalize asking more questions. I know you think we're scoffing, but then on the flip side, it would appear that you're scoffing at skeptics, and I think you should be asking just as many questions as us, because that's how we get to the truth. And for this, I would want to see more rigorous testing over and over and over again, with a larger sample size.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't think that we're addressing you as if you're wrong. What we're saying is we're saying, I don't know about this. This needs to be looked into. I'm totally comfortable saying that. It seems. Are you okay saying that too? And I mean, instead of drawing a conclusion at this point, yeah. So you're taking the position of a skeptic on that as well, which is fine. We all should be skeptical of any of this kind of research until we get a larger sample size. Science is always being updated. That's the beauty of the structure of it. And when we get new information, we continue to build it. So stuff like this is good. We should be exploring this. I don't disagree with you. I think it's too early to make any kind of statistical claims. The conclusion is, that's kind of what I'm gathering from it. But anyway, Ethan. Yeah.
Do you by chance, Axel?
Let me just say that this is not the only one, and psi phenomenon has been studied quite extensively. So I'd be happy to, if you guys have a study that disproves it, I'm sure those are out there too. I'd be happy to look at those.
Well, I don't think there's a way to disprove it, especially when it hasn't actually been proven. I don't know. Am I correct there on that, Brian?
Well, yeah, actually disproving is more what science is about, honestly, and more in studies disprove hypothesis orders of magnitude more than they prove hypothesis. So disproving, you're never going to completely eradicate the hypothesis, but you can build evidence against it. I do want to recommend to Axel, somebody who covers these kind of topics very extensively, and it's Thomas Westbrook. Also goes by Holy Kool-Aid on YouTube. He has lots of videos on these type of this type of research. So
he'd be a great person to talk to.
Yeah, just pull that up. I'll check that out.
Yeah, good stuff.
Hey, do you want the list?
Can you put that in the Skype chat for me real quick so I can?
There you go.
Awesome. All right, and you said I can post this. Is this yours?
Yeah. It's public. It's fine. You can post it.
Cool. It is for those watching. Axel's list of sources are in the comment section right there. If you click the link, it'll take you to his document where he refers to all the different psychic phenomena. Brian.
Well, I appreciate you guys, being open-minded about it.
No, and hey, Axel, it was a pleasure talking to you again, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to let us pick your brain.
No problem. Hope you guys have a good one.
You too, man. Take it easy.
All right. Peace.
We do have open lines, and if you want to talk to us, call the number at the bottom of the screen. I'm gonna get that shirt made though, Brian. Scoffing at skeptics. I like that. Thanks to Native Atheist.
I think he was. He seemed kind of open there at the end to maybe having this 13-year study. I looked at. I didn't get into any of the details about it, or what their hit rate was or anything, but.
I gotta say, I almost wish Holy Kool-Aid was in my place right now, and then you two could have been talking to Axel, because this is like his area.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, because he starts bringing up these statistics and stuff. I'm like, oh, you know who's done the math on this?
Not us.
Yeah, no. Maybe we should, though, if we're going to be saying, hey, call us about these psychic phenomena. Maybe we should be doing some research into that.
Absolutely. I think, I have been like listening to podcasts every day, all day now, just trying to focus on learning as much as possible. I think I'm going to have to add like a mathematics podcast to this so I can actually process this, because I got to be honest, I'm struggling to understand it.
Yeah.
So, and if I can't understand it, it's hard to, I don't want to say rebut, but to process it and then ask the right questions.
Yeah. When he presented this to us, I was just able, like I said, looked at the abstract, looked at the conclusions at the bottom there, and I was like, okay, well, there's math in here, and hopefully he'll explain it to me. And then, we didn't get that far, but maybe when we talk to Axel again, we can he'll have done the numbers and have some correlation to provide for us.
Yeah, that would be nice. There was one other person that was planning on calling. I got to send her a just quick message to see if she's still available, because we don't have any callers right now. I mean, it is almost at the hour mark, so I guess it's not the end of the world. We had 2 really good callers.
Yeah.
By the way, those who watch, who's really good at math that can actually walk me through this study, or just give me a base understanding of this better.
Puck's out there. Hey, Puck.
Puck is a busy. I hound Puck a lot, so I don't know, Puck. Maybe if you have the time, yes.
Excited about it though. If you look at his comments, he's excited about doing some math for you.
Puck, there is a study we put in the comments section. If you could go ahead and click the link and check it out and maybe explain it to me later. If you're just tuning in now, if you have a supernatural claim, belief in aliens, or conspiracy theory, call the number at the bottom of the screen, 951-364-2430. We're here. Well, I'm here every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. And Brian is here every other week.
Yep.
But the caller was available. She just reached out. So, Brian, you ready for our next caller?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Robin, you are on with Brian and Ethan. How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
I am doing well, thank you. Have you had a good day?
Yes, it's been a normal work day,
Oh, that's good. If you could, we had briefly spoke earlier. What did you want to talk about for the audience?
Oh, man. Yeah. So you mentioned that you're talking today about UFO experiences, and I've had a few, but the most incredible one was in 2016, and it wasn't just me. It was a bunch of friends of mine that all witnessed this together.
And what was it?
So we were standing at the apartments that are somewhat on the northeast side of Tucson on the 3rd floor, and I hear my friends call me over saying, oh my God, Robin's going to want to see this. So I run outside, and there are 5 lights that are very bright and large that are hovering over the mountains that are northeast of Tucson. We watched this for 45 minutes, and they would mostly stay in the same place, but there were points where one of them just dimmed out entirely about 40 minutes in and just was gone. Then there was, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So one of the lights moved to be next to one of the other lights. And the movement of it, the speed of it, the way it moved was just crazy. If you were to clock it, it would have been 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, it was infinitely fast. And the coolest thing about it wasn't just how fast it was, but the way that it moved to be next to the other light didn't seem like it was pushed there, like by propulsion. It looked like it slipped into place, like gravity sucked it to be right next to it. And it was wild. There was another point where 3 of the lights came together and you could see them shining this amber kind of light on the tops of the trees of the mountain, even from where we were standing.
Mm-hmm.
And these 3 lights circled each other for maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. And then they kind of broke apart and went back to hovering. And then the final part of the experience, after we watched this for a while, there were some clouds rolling in on the mountains. And 2 of the lights rose up above the clouds. And the only way I can describe what they did, one after the other, within about 2 seconds of each other. So you know how the Star of Bethlehem is represented at Christmas?
Sorry, what was
like
that?
With the rays of light coming outside kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, yeah. The imagery.
So what happened with 2 lights is one after the other in succession, it flashed this crazy white blue Star of Bethlehem looking light and disappeared. And then the experience was over. And it was absolutely wild.
So what do you think it was?
I definitely felt like it was not human. And with all of the, meditation that I used to do and all of the research that I still do, I definitely believe that they are different beings for sure.
When was this? What was the date?
Ask.
This was April 20th of 2016. Wait, 15 or 16, one of the 2.
Okay.
Did you look up after this had happened to see if there were any test flights or anything going on in the area?
Yeah, there is an Air Force base here, so that was the first thing that I looked into. But the thing is, when you see something like this, there's nothing human that is similar to this, even remotely. Something that can move at the speed that they did and disappear in a flash of bright white light is not human.
You say it's definitely not human?
Oh yeah, absolutely not human. I mean, and the thing is, it's hard. I mean, I can describe some of these things to you, how fast it moved and how it looked like it moved and how they disappeared in that light. But really, until you see it, it doesn't make as much of an impression on you until you see it in real life. And I'm going to go one step farther into this because you know who I am and the
Yes.
spiritual beliefs or whatnot that I have. From what I've read about and researched and watched and whatever and vibed with, felt like was true. That's not science. That's just, what we do as people. They are aware of if other people are aware of them. And there is this crazy feeling that that when it's happening. I've actually had 3 UFO experiences. One of them kind of close up and the other 2 were like distance like this. And I still felt every single time. And there's no way to describe it other than like they were aware that we were aware of them. It's hard to explain, but it is what it is.
So why are you so quick to say it's definitely not human? How did you rule Sorry, can you say that again?
I said, if you had seen it, you would say the same thing. Nothing that we have has similar qualities in, anything known anyways in our military equipment. There is nothing that has the ability to just hover without sound whatsoever in this ball of light. I mean, it's not flashing lights like an airplane. It's not like a searchlight from a helicopter. These things hovered for 45 minutes. And when they moved in a non-propulsionary way. And we don't have any type of vehicles right now that are in the air that move in any ways other than with wings and with propulsion. And they didn't move as if they were being pushed by a force, but more that they were manipulating, like they were manipulating the space around them. Like that's the only way it looked because of the speed at which they moved.
Let me ask you this: do you think the government ever, any of the governments ever, have more technology than they let the public on to know? Like, do you think it's possible that the military has secret, not only secret testing bases, but secret vehicles and technology that we may not be aware of?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, there's always things that the government isn't going to expose, but I think a lot of that is, in fact, from reverse engineering other crafts that have crashed and, been destroyed. And a lot of people that have had that kind of disclosure, for example, Dr. Stephen Greer would be someone I highly suggest you look into, as well as a movie by him called...
I know that name. I'm trying to remember how I know it, but sorry, continue.
Well, I would definitely just suggest checking out his movie called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, not to be confused by Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, the 80s movie, which actually has a little bit of wisdom in that 80s movie, believe it or not. But yeah, he has been disclosed with all sorts of information over the years, and he's making it his purpose to make sure that people are not afraid of it, because that is the issue. And if you want to look further into things other than, someone you don't know, NASA has released footage, multiple videos of footage that is of NASA pilots or of Air Force pilots that have followed these things and caught them on camera, and it is actually becoming disclosed now. So it's actually been happening for the past year or so. That disclosure is starting to happen in the mainstream. I don't know if you've seen those videos, but people are actually easy to dismiss them because of all of the craziness happening in the world today. And I urge people not to dismiss those videos that NASA and the Air Force have released.
So to be clear, while I don't believe in a great many things, I'll say I believe in aliens. Like, to me, it would be crazy to think that out of this gigantic universe that there is not aliens. So yeah, I am on your side there. Where I'm on the fence is if they have this great technology, if they're actually able to make it into our solar system, but yet they somehow can't seem to hide from our cameras. That's kind of what gets me. And then additionally, I would feel the best possible explanation would be that these are earthly ships that we just don't know about yet, or that are coming from military bases or other governments. Wouldn't it possibly...
I could tell you, I'd love to have an entire conversation about different beings that have been and continue to be here and a part of the human existence. And just to give you a little teaser, the entire reason that we are here right now, and I honestly want to set up a show with you to talk about it. I could go for hours.
What's the reason?
So, you know how there's no link between monkeys and us? We've been trying to find this missing link, just one set of bones that shows that we are connected and therefore evolved from monkeys. The reason we have not found this is if you look back into ancient Sumer and you look back into Egypt, we are deeply connected and actually genetically created by different beings, to include Anubis. Some of these ancient names are actually names of beings that have been involved in the creation of the human race. And it started with Sumer. They created us at Sumer and helped us learn agriculture and waterways and all sorts of things like that. And that's where civilization began. And that's why we haven't ever found the missing link, because there is no missing link. Our DNA was mixed with DNA from a primate type being as well as other beings in the universe to create us.
Okay, can I'm going to point to Brian on this one. He's the scientist, or the science nerd.
I'm the science nerd anyway. Okay, so the missing link thing, that's more of a an early 20th century kind of, once we found Lucy, and I think a lot of people are under the impression that Lucy is the only Australopithecine that we've found. No, it's a full species. We've got dozens and dozens of specimens, and not just Lucy. We have Homo habilis, Homo erectus, all these animals. There's no more real gaps in the evolution of man at this point. We've got a full progression on that of the anatomical features. I'm not sure if maybe you've been misled about that, but that's not what we see when we look at the fossil record.
So I'll definitely look into that for sure. Still, though, it's really important to look into the ancient cultures and all of the things that they shared back then. It's so easily thrown away. And when you start to put together, so to go back real quick to what Ethan said about, I don't even know if they could make it into our atmosphere. Our planet or our civilization is not old by any means in terms of the time of the universe. And so for a singular planet with some type of intelligent being to be on it, even just 1 million years before we began, of course they would have the ability to do these things. But beyond that, they can and do hide or are not seen within our sight of range all the time for multiple reasons. But this is in regards a lot of time to the dimensions that they exist on, the actual frequencies that they exist on. And it's also in relation to the general view of humanity at this moment and their willingness to accept these truths. Because accepting our connection to and the involvement of other races in our history is destructive to pretty much every religion that exists, and it would bring light to a lot of things in the government that would cause a lot of drama, a lot of issues, a lot of struggle. And so one reason to not show yourself to an advanced race is because you don't want to fuck them up. You want them to be able to reasonably accept what is. And that's one of the reasons that it's not a constant thing, but it's going to be seen much more often in these next several years.
So, sorry, a couple questions, because there was a lot thrown out there. I guess, why don't we have any evidence of like alien DNA or something unidentified in our DNA?
Well, there's all sorts of alien DNA within our DNA. There's so many things that we do not even remotely understand about it. And that's, we can't answer things about DNA yet because we're not evolved enough to understand DNA. We don't know enough about it. It is so detailed. But I think that's also something that's going to be shown over the next several years, is that the reason we're so complicated is because our DNA is spliced with multiple things, So that's crazy. You guys are not down the same rabbit hole that I am. So I know that this is way out there. This is why I would love to have a really long conversation about this sometime.
Yeah. I guess jumping back to what I had said earlier, why do you think they would be able to, and I could be asking the wrong question here, but how would a civilization with such advanced technology make so many mistakes? Like, they can travel through what, we don't know how many galaxies to get to us. Who knows where they're coming from, but for some odd reason, they can't hide from our cell phone cameras.
What do you mean they can't hide from our cell phone cameras?
Why would we keep, so these UFO objects that you believe are aliens, why would they keep getting caught when they're such an advanced species?
Keep getting caught?
On camera.
Yeah, on camera.
Well, so if you were trying to show yourself to an entire race that thinks that they're alone in the universe, the gentleness that takes is through, it's plotted and planned so that you have enough individual experiences and you have the larger experiences so that in time, the collective consciousness, the collective people can accept when those larger events happen without fear. Because the last thing that they want is to create fear. Their purpose, most of the being's purposes, I should say, is to allow humans to evolve to the next level. And so they don't want to create fear. But that is going to happen when you see a bear or something that you don't understand its power or its connection or how to talk with it. So I think it is incredibly complicated and in-depth, and it takes some crazy finesse and also some, there's not all of the races that are a part of our existence are necessarily good. I mean, some of them are disconnected from emotions, and so they don't understand that by somebody seeing them, it causes them fear. So I think there's so many factors in it. It's hard to answer, but that's the best answer I can get for
now. That's a lot to tackle, Robin. Like a lot.
I actually like to have a convo, and I have so many resources that I can throw out there that you can fact check and look into and make your opinions on. I think it's important to just plant that seed for people who are not even remotely understanding of the possibility. And I mean, for me, the reality of these things. But I highly suggest you watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind so you get an idea and some information that you can start on that understanding path. So when we have a conversation, you don't think I'm a psychopath.
Okay, Robin, we don't need to throw labels around. I never said or insinuated in any way that you're a psychopath.
I know.
Okay.
It's just what other people might be thinking. Because if someone has no inkling whatsoever about this, they will hear what I'm saying and say, that chick is freaking crazy. And I just want to encourage people to look into some of the disclosure that the government is actually already providing. It's pretty freaking incredible. And it's literally the next step for humans to evolve. So it's insanely important, and it's going to hit you in the face whether you want it or not. So I want to encourage people to start now.
Is this one of your psychic predictions that is going to hit me in the face?
I don't think that was one of them, but it could.
I would love to explore the stuff you said about DNA further at some point. We've been going a little over an hour now, so we're probably going to be wrapping up. But that's a big topic to get into, but it does sound like something fun to talk about. So if and when you call back and I'm on the show, I'm really happy to discuss those things with you. Just putting that out there.
Awesome. No, I would love that. Honestly, I know it's a crazy thing to talk about, but it's definitely worth taking the time to review it, even if we're all on totally different, belief systems of it. I would love to have a long convo with both of you. That would be outstanding.
Well, I'll tell you this. There is a larger possibility of you convincing me that aliens are here than there is of God or psychic ability. Because to me, aliens is absolutely plausible. Not only plausible, but highly likely that there is alien life out there. Whether it's intelligent or not, I don't know. I'd like to think so.
Oh, and Robin, I have a suggestion for you too. Someone that I know in the science community, of a very serious into the science community individual, suggested a documentary to me called I think what was it, Phenomenon. Let me see here. I got it right here. Yeah, The Phenomenon, about some of the released records that have been released in the last couple of years from the military. And she said she found it really compelling. So look into that. I'm going to start watching it probably this evening. But that's my recommendation for you there too.
Thank you. Phenomenon. I will look into it. And then another thing to throw out there is conversations about the very basis of what we know as human civilization, looking into Sumer and looking into Egypt. Just one fun fact that I'm going to throw out there. The Sphinx, which we believe was made, I don't know, I think it was like 2,500 years ago or 3,000 years ago, I don't know, was in fact starting to show that it's dating between 10 to 20,000 years ago. The reason being, the section around the Sphinx itself shows all of the signs of thousands of years of water damage. Okay. And there's no water that's been known to be in Egypt for in 15,000 years or so. So that is one thing that is tied into all of this, which is the time period that people came here and were influenced. So that's one thing I want to throw out for you to check into too, because that's something you can actually scientifically verify.
I will have to look into that because I'm not familiar with that. Brian, are you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I am familiar with the claims. This Sphinx water erosion hypothesis is what it is referred to as, and there's lots of research out there on it to keep you occupied for hours. Whether there's any veracity to it, it's a claim that's made, and we'll see what happens with it.
Well, I will definitely take a look at that, Robin. As always, I appreciate you calling in, and it was nice talking to you again.
I am to talk about such wild things, and I really look forward to talking about it more. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one, dude.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Well, that was a heck of a good show, B.
Yeah, I always like when Robin calls. She's so polite.
She is. She's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And I do hope she, for those that don't know, Robin is a medium / psychic. I'm waiting for her to get her mojo back. When she does get her good vibes back, she's going to send me some predictions in an envelope. And yeah, we'll be able to go from there. Anyways, Brian, what do you got going on?
Well, I believe it's the 23rd. Let me double check my dates here. I got so much going on. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of. I'll be doing Mike Carey's show. Mike Carey is the One Good Reason, and he does Distant Minds, which is actually going to be, another talk about extraterrestrials and stuff. So I was hoping to get that show in or that documentary in before I go on there, so we have some added meat to the bone, if you will.
Right.
And then on Halloween, I will be on Neil the 604 Atheist, and we're going to look at some spiders and talk about kind of my journey to where I am right now. So look forward to
Conversion story?
an origin story. Yep.
Origin story. I like that.
There we go.
Tomorrow on my other channel, youtube.com/YFNE News, will be the continuation in my series where I bring Republicans on and they have to answer the question, why do they support Donald Trump? So tomorrow there will be 3 Republicans on, and it will be myself and Mr. Rick Lockhart on In Black and White at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Then also Thursday, I am doing an episode at 9 p.m. on consent, conservative versus liberal. Sunday, I will be on with Jenna Belk, which is our show every Sunday, the Ethan and Jenna show. We'll be talking about mental health and death. And then what I'm super excited about, November 6th, I'm going to be on Truth Wanted. Super cool. So, yeah, it's exciting. Anyways, make sure you like and subscribe. Check out BrainBug. I got to make sure I put all your links in the description. If I didn't, they will be in there when I'm done with this. Check his channel out. Thank you to my patrons, Cindy Plaza, Kenneth Leonard, Kathy Leto, Ian Davenport, best name ever, and the Blazing Wizard Pope. You guys are awesome. Like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you get notified whenever we go live, and have a good and safe week. And, oh yeah, also wear a mask.
Wear a mask and vote.
Yes, definitely vote. Not for Trump.